I want to try a new format for this video. I'll show a photo like this one. I'll give you a little bit of time, maybe 5 seconds, to form your own opinions and thoughts about what you think about it and how you experience it. And then I'll do the same so that you can compare. I think that'd be kind of neat, right? It's like sharing our subjective experiences. The group of photos is from Petapixel just announced the winners of their Steve McCurry contest. Right, these were the finalists. Some of them won a cash prize. This one was one of the overall winners. So, I don't want to... Yeah, they're lovely photos. So, get that out of the way. Okay, this one. It feels like fodder for a Tradwife magazine, and it feels like creeper vibes of a man looking through a window at a woman. I even think I received the photographer's reflection in the middle of the pane. And it reminds me of a childhood field trip I took to a place that was sort of similar to this one. All right, this is your time. You can always pause the video if you need more time. I really like the sheet and the colors and the hair. I think that's pretty neat. I don't like the face popping through the middle. I sort of wish that they had not torn the sheet. I think I would like that photo better. It feels like a set where the photographer was maybe like an auxiliary person, and right, they started just shooting these women sort of randomly. Maybe they took a bunch of pictures. They kept this one because the woman on the right is catching the photographer, right, and has locked eyes. But the other four women, right, there's actually four, right? There's sort of one that's obstructed, which is a little awkward. And then the expressions from the other two don't add a lot. One's holding her phone. And then there's like fruit in the front. Yeah. I do sort of like that the woman on the right has picked up her foot. I initially like the colors. I'm really, though, get distracted by the amount of hat, and it feels like it's floating. And then the woman's face all of a sudden starts to feel like it's also floating above the hat. And it's sort of interesting because I don't think I've seen a photo like this, but also sort of weird. My imagination goes to work here, and I don't know, I think these are maybe brothers that have gone to the bird store, which is sort of cute. And I do like the overall composition. There's a lot of interesting things to find. And I usually really don't like digital black and white, but here I don't mind it too much. I wonder what a birds activist would say. They might feel differently about this one. I really like the idea of putting the hands out, the wet hands, and then removing them, and like where'd the hands go, but you see the prints. I don't love how much the face has disappeared and it's just sort of their eyeballs. I'm quick to like this one because I can kind of relate to this, like getting on a bus and sitting on the back of the bus and then just like all of a sudden realizing that like you're staring at this cool photo, right? The light. It looks like a film photo. I see grain. I see, right, the colors, the extra saturation. I mean, it's a little bit overkill, but at the same time, I kind of like it here. I like that the bus is empty except for maybe a driver way up front. And I especially like on the top, like the ceiling of the bus, like all that kind of color pattern and reflection. Yeah, so this is my favorite photo so far. I'm quick to think of photographs similar to this one. Some Robert Frank photos come to mind. I do sort of like that I kind of go around the photo and I see different things. There's different pockets to look at. However, I don't super love any of those pockets. Right, there's the guy touching his neck and etc. Right, it's an interesting photo, but yeah, I think there could be more to the three subjects. I feel like I can imagine this photographer waiting and trying to pick the exact right moment, and they prioritize the woman framed in the door, but then sort of caught her in this awkward moment with her umbrella. Like, is it up? Is it down? What's she doing with it? Is it even raining? And it's a lot of mural. However, I do sort of like, I turned it into a bit of a comedy here of like these Pope religious figures are sort of telling her to open your umbrella, and she's right on her way up to opening it, and I kind of like the awkwardness of the umbrella. Yeah. Right, it was a bold choice to put the horse that much in the photo. The cropping feels forced, right? It's a square crop. It doesn't feel like a square camera. And I almost think too much is obstructed. Like, I sort of would like to actually see more of the scene here. I'm sort of confused about what's happening. It feels like something bad has happened to a person's head, that those pile of bricks have fallen, or they're, I don't know. The overall contrast, I don't love it, and some of the out of focus areas are not fun to look at. I mean, it's sort of cool. Something about this photo is like almost too perfect, and just how, like, I don't know what it is. Like, I do like the colors. It's cool to see this person working on this thing and their hand out to the left, and kind of see the string. The red is a little oversaturated on my screen, and then sort of that perfect roundness of the hat where it loses shape. The side lighting is nice. Something about this just like feels like a Nat Geo picture. It's a yeah. Somehow it's like too perfect or something. Or maybe I want to see more of the person. I don't know. I don't know. It's a lot of red. It's lava. And it's sort of throwing me. It's like, is this a drone shot? How big is this? Is this little? Is this giant? And somehow there is like, the foreground feels sharper and more in focus than the background, which makes it sort of hard to look into the background, but I want to because there's that line of fire in the smoke. And there's some cool kind of wavy lines through here. I wouldn't be too surprised if it turned out this wasn't a photograph. It was just like a computer graphic. I don't have a camera with a shutter this fast. I like the swirl of the water. You know, it feels like a picture for the Olympics or something. I don't. And if I took this photo, I'd want to share it with this person. Although there's two people, right? There's somebody down below that seems to be in the way. I don't know. So yeah, sports photography. I don't know exactly where this is. I wish I did. I'm guessing Patagonia or Switzerland. I hope I get to go there someday. I'm skeptical that this light is 100% real. And if it is, wow. Right, but I'm like, oh, come on. Surely this is some dodge and burn work. But yeah, regardless, I like that one. I mean, another one where I'm sort of in disbelief that this is real. I mean, it's not. I mean, there's so much about it that's incredible, right? The way the light's coming in, right? The posturing of the scuba diver, the four whales, and even like the whales have this beautiful swoosh to them that matches the light and the water. I mean, it's probably real. I take it to be real. It's in a photo contest, which makes it remarkable. It's almost like Disney, though. It's like it's too perfect or too happy. I don't know. And ultimately, I just sort of like nerd out on the beautiful blues, but then also like how is that scuba diver doing this and holding her breath? It makes me nervous. Although I assume that they're talented, and I can't hold my breath like that. Yeah, the digital tonal gradations are not my favorite. The highlights are a little washed. I can't tell what she's ironing. Her hand is awfully close to the iron. I do like that they have like the foreground framing. You know? Yeah. It's a nice side light. Is it a wedding? Is he too undressed for my taste? Am I seeing more underwear than I want to? And all those like pipes in the background are a little bit distracting. But the photographer here has very carefully framed. Every little element has just enough space compared to the things around it. And I'm curious, did they take one shot or take a mini to find that? Oh, it feels like an ant farm to me, except that's a person riding a bicycle. I think of the moons of Jupiter. And then I guess this is what, drone photography. They're way up. Maybe that's a lake or something. I mean, all those cool shapes are neat. It's a little bit far away and flat feeling, and I wish I could get a little more into some of those details. I find my eye moving around pretty fast and sort of thinking it's cool, but not quite latching on to anything other than like the red jacket. I guess drone photography is becoming more of a thing. I do like all the tracks. I think they did a cool job of driving the car around. I feel excited for this photographer, right? If I was this person, I'd be so pumped that I had done this. And I think I like the little bit of red up by the cabin. I like the cabin. I like the little red by the cabin. I almost wonder if that's the person flying the drone. Yeah, kind of neat. The digital colors are not working for me. The pole is almost too centered on the face, and it has this effect of dividing the face into like butterfly halves. And it's sort of what I see of the lips and of the nose. It's sort of just weird for me. I mean, I do like the eyes and the gaze. I like the connection with that human being. The feathers are nice. The really shallow depth of field is almost too much. And I wish I could make sense of what's in their hand. I can't tell if it's like a necklace or like a liquid dripping. I'd like to know. Other than the person on the bike in the left corner, right, the architect gets most of the credit here. Yeah, I'm always a little hard on architectural photography, especially if like it's, I mean, yeah. Yeah, I think I need a little bit more than just the bicycler. Oh, I like the colors. This is film. I really like the blouse, the texture in the blouse. Up in the top right, the sky has nice blue saturation and some graininess. It's a very cool framing of the woman. I like the cool shadow coming down from the fan. I don't super love the building, and I always get nervous when I take pictures of this like this. I'm like, ooh, is the person gonna like this photo of themselves or not? So it just sort of makes me kind of go through that line of questioning. But I do like the blues in the blouse. Okay. I see that boy in the shadow, and I feel like his hands are in his pockets, and it feels a little bit staged, almost like the photographer likes Alex Webb and tried a little bit too hard to get an Alex Webb-like photo. I will, though, give compliments to this cool shadow on the bottom left and this pigeon on the bottom here, kind of bottom left too. That pigeon is a strong addition to this photo. This one is like an almost hit for me. I wish it was film. The tonality gets to me. Also can't tell, is she carrying something or is that like a hand? But I do like all the, the different textures and the shapes and the lines. And then I also really like, as you go up the photo, I like and don't like kind of all the delicate lines. You can kind of get into some of those interesting lines. However, I think it went a little too far, and I start getting up into like an electrical box or something. But yeah, overall, I just wish that this had been taken on film. I mean, what a scene, right? Poor camel. But this is, for me, I don't, this is not a daily scene, right? And it's very easy to imagine that this is a dialogue or an argument that's about the camel, right? So it's very inviting to sort of tell a story with it. It definitely has sort of like a from the hip type feel, sort of how awkward some of these things are fitting next to each other, like the light pole and the nose and the lift equipment and the guy's face, and yeah. It reminds me of when my kids were born. And I sort of like, it's like this human being that's just been born, and we're measuring it to see if it's more than 30 centimeters. Like, but I'm not sure what the intent is here. It does feel a little bit like a low quality cell phone picture. But it's like the latex gloves and the tape measure, and I don't know. It's like, yeah. All right, we don't need a lot of time to think about this one. The bird, it's cool. Yeah. I mean, again, I have a hard time with digital black and white. I don't really care for anything other than the bird, and even the bird has something coming down too close to its beak. I'd rather just be closer in to see the bird. I think happy thoughts for the bird. I see a lot of smoke that's floating to the left, and I see a woman covering her mouth like she's coughing on smoke. I really like the colors. Right, it reminds me of going to Italy and seeing buildings that color, which I loved. And I liked that they focused on the wall and then let a silhouette come into the picture. It's a decent silhouette, although I think she's just looking at her phone. Again, I experience pain from the digital tones. I don't want to be shot in the face by this thing. The car in the bottom right is distracting. But it's I like the spirit of like the kid having fun and doing this with the photographer. Oh, it makes me think of some Sebastião Salgado work. I really like the facial expression and the gaze and the eye contact. If I was the photographer, I'd be thankful for that kid for giving me such a natural expression. I don't really know what's going on here, and right, he's sort of sandwiched in between two shoulders, and the shoulders have like, I don't know, they sort of become very eye-grabbing, and I don't really want to see them. Right, look at all the texture, and again, I just can't do digital black and white. I mean, on one hand, I think the lighting is kind of cool, but it also feels fake. And I don't really know what the scene is. I mean, I get that it's a torn, battered flag at half-mast in a cornfield, and maybe it's stormy. I think the figure on the left's pretty interesting in the way that the top half and bottom half fit together. The legs, on the other hand, on the right, I don't care for that. And then it just feels like a lot of space on the left and right that are just not adding anything, a lot of dead space. But yeah, overall, I still sort of like this one. This one's sort of both peaceful, and it's a lot of color, and I sort of like it. At the same time, like the top third of the photo just feels like a lot of yellow without any texture at all. And then the bottom third is sort of like a blood red that starts to have like a weird texture. Almost like this is like, maybe it's film, or is it digital? I don't know what. Yeah, I think, yeah, but the middle of the photo sits nicely. It's a lot of color. Cool scene. It's got some life to it, sort of like I'm there playing. However, I think that the autofocus grabbed onto this front kid, and sort of everything else feels out of focus, and the quality of that out of focus is just okay. So it has a feeling to it, but I don't super love looking at it. It almost feels fake, like a video game. However, I do think it gets a lot of points for the composition and the colors. It has like a delicate, reminds me of older Japanese art. Sort of the lines and the the light textures and tones. I feel very behind the subject, and it feels like a person at work. It makes me think of when I was learning Photoshop, and I wish there was just a little bit more to this, so I could know that it was not just a Photoshop job. It's like, did they really catch this? Like I don't know. Is this water on a leaf? I don't know. All right, another woman through a window. This one feels like the photographer's just like in a shopping center. I can see up above the woman, there's like a security camera. There's some like, business fonts in the top right. And she's carrying like a shopping bag. Okay, apparently this was like shoot women through windows event. I guess of all of the women through a window, this is my favorite. It's like reminds me of early 20th century American art. However, I don't know. It also just looks like a dirty shower. And like, what's that light above her head? And why are we taking pictures of people through glass like this? I like the middle of the image. The dog, it's stretching, or I don't think he's barking. Wish the tail was in a slightly different position. The man, the central figure is sort of interesting, and the bird's starting to leave. But then the right, it's like a dog butt, and then there's a couple people over there on the right, but they're not really doing much that's interesting. I see garbage in the river, but maybe that's what this is about, is the garbage in the river. And then the whole left side of the photo is, it adds just a little bit. This is the worst offender in terms of a black and white digital image and tonality. And then sort of the lens here, right? It's super sharp on his face, but the out of focus bokeh is like, it's not pleasing. And there's sort of a cool thing going on with like her eyes and hair kind of look like the smoke that he's blowing. Yeah, but he's way too digitally sharp. I don't really want to look at him. I'm interested in how this was made, sort of like the colors, but I am like, why does he have a green scary mask on with demon eyes? I like some of the colors in here. It's slightly better than most architectural photography, that it has the yellow bike and the guy on his cell phone in green. I don't get excited about this style of photography. I'm struck by the man's, I think, sadness. And then it's sort of like an unfamiliar scene to me. I don't know what's going on. Is he trapped? And again, this would have been a much better photo if it was taken on film. And he's sad. Maybe that's why he's sad, is he wishes that the photographer had a film camera. Or maybe he's sad because this video has come to an end.